Coming up on Network Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa leaves the Commonwealth Summit to deal with protests in South Africa. Sacked nurses in Zimbabwe hold an open-air clinic. And the U.S. military trains West African forces to battle terror threats. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Temi Topwe Fagbemi. We begin today with the protest in South Africa. President Cyril Ramaphosa has cut short his attendance at the Commonwealth Summit in London to deal with violent protests at home. Early today, the police fired rubber bullets to break up crowds of protesters shortly before he was due to arrive in the troubled Northwest province. Clashes have taken place in the area where protesters are demanding jobs, housing and an end to corruption. Shops have also been looted, roads barricaded and vehicles set alight. President Ramaphosa had sought to encourage investment in South Africa during his visit to the United Kingdom. So let's get more on this story from our South Africa Bureau Chief, Bessa Dibia. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Tokwe.
So tell us more about the protests in the Northwest province.
Well, you've captured the bulk of it. It's been 3 days of violent protests in that province, the Northwest province, especially the capital of the province, that's Mahikeng, where we've seen houses, cars burnt, even children have been stopped from going to school. But and the major thing is that they're calling for the premier, that's Supra Mamapilo, to step down. There's so many things riding on it. We know that the premier has had his own troubles, and he's blamed some of the people within the ANC for allegedly trying to punish him for supporting Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma during the conference in December. But there are other things, the issue of the Gupta links, the issue of his office being raided at a point by the Hawks for allegedly awarding contracts to a data firm without due process, allegedly, I keep saying. And then this can only happen when the people feel that they have been failed as well. You mentioned jobs, you have people who don't have jobs. The issue of provision of social amenities, many of the schools in some of the areas are dilapidated, and people feel they have been failed. And in a place where you don't have a lot of young people, especially, not working, anytime a call is being made for anything, they hang a lot of things to it, and then they go to town. So it's been on lockdown, especially in Mahikeng. We've seen foreign national shops are being looted, and many of them are outside the venue where the president is meeting the top leaders of the ANC in the city at the moment.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. The president had to cut short his trip to London to deal with the protest. What steps has he taken so far to calm the situation?
Yes, we've seen the police minister, Becky Cele, present on ground, speaking with the people. We've heard of rubber bullets being fired at protesters. People are not letting up, in their protest for what they're asking for. A lot of frustration, a lot of frustrated young people. So the president being present, of course, it doesn't look good, or it didn't look good for him being over there and things like that being happening back home, especially when he's trying to reach out to foreign investors. But he did what he had to do to come back, to be on ground. Right now, he's at the Northwest province, speaking to the ANC leaders to see how this can be sorted out. Maybe people will wait to hear. We know that for this, especially the street protests, to be calm much more than this, there must be that point where you have to reach the people directly. So it's going to be a long meeting. We don't expect any outcome early today. Probably it will go on till late in the night. But we want to see what the fate of the premier would be as well. We understand he's present, whether he's present at the meeting as well as the top 6 and some NEC members. We don't know what the outcome will be. But the alliance partners of the ANC are present as well, and they're pushing for the Premier to leave office. But the ANC has to be careful as well in how it handles this, especially with elections next year.
So concerning the looting and the violence, have the police made any arrests so far, and what punishment are those arrested likely to face?
And most of the time, the looting happens in the presence of cameras. We understand a handful of people have been arrested. Some say 7, some say 10. But we for 3 days, we've been watching people going into people's shops and picking things, and they're not hiding their faces. So they were charged, we understand, of public violence. Probably they'll get fines and they may be let off, or maybe nothing. That it's usually common when protests happen within this country that shops are usually looted, and it's unfortunate because many of those who lose their things never get them back, never get any compensation. But we understand that foreign nationals, especially, who have all these small shops in the community, they're lining up outside the venue of that meeting, and they're demanding to speak with the leaders of the ANC as well, that they're tired of the repeat of these things happening. Whenever people demand things, they are usually the victims in issues between the people and the government, where the people feel that the government is failing them.
Batidibia, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you.
Britain has announced that it will strongly support Zimbabwe's re-entry to the Commonwealth. A statement issued by the Foreign Office praised President Emmerson Mnangagwa for overseeing impressive progress since Robert Mugabe was toppled in a military coup. Zimbabwe left the Commonwealth network in 2003 after Mugabe, who had ruled Zimbabwe from its independence in 1980, was criticized over disputed elections and land seizures from white farmers. As Harare looks to rebuild its international ties, British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson met with his Zimbabwean counterpart, Subisiso Moyo, and ministers from other nations over breakfast on the sidelines of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in London. Mr. Moyo, the general who went on state television last November to announce the military takeover, also met ministers from neighboring African states and Australia at the breakfast. Meanwhile, striking nurses in Zimbabwe are holding an open-air clinic today to showcase the limited resources they work with. This comes as the government has begun recruiting unemployed and retired nurses at the state hospital. A notice by the Nurses Union says that the event will be held in the capital Harare and the southwestern city of Bulawayo from noon local time. The union says its members will offer consultation, counseling, vital observation, and take patients' pulses. The body also appealed to the public to support their cause by wearing white clothes. The government fired 15,000 nurses on Wednesday after they failed to call off their strike, demanding better wages.